everybody. This is Paul Neeson with Torah Life Ministries. We have a return guest, Scarlett Noble. Say hello, Scarlett.
Hello.
Scarlett was on recently. We had a great conversation, and she's back now to talk about a topic that everyone knows I have a passion for, and that is the idea of body hair, especially on men, beards on men. So I wanted to get a woman's perspective of this, and Scarlett recently did a presentation about beards, and we're going to talk to her about it today. So Scarlett, briefly introduce yourself, and then tell us what incited you to decide to do a report about beards.
Okay, well, my name is Scarlett, and I am a college student, and I'm very passionate about obedience to the one true living Elohim, Yehovah, and doing things according to his culture rather than our own. That's really been coming up a lot lately. So that led me to the beards. I'm in a speech class for my communications degree, and one of the speeches we had to do was an informative speech. And so I chose to inform the class about the benefits of beards, both the physical benefits, the health physical benefits, and the socio-psychological benefits of beards.
Now, when you were talking about the beards, and I want to get to the points that you had in your presentation, but did it ever come up? Was it just body hair in general, or was it just specifically beards?
I tried to get body hair, and my professor kind of looked at me and said, "You better stick with the beards because when you start talking about ladies' body hair, that's when people get all kinds of uncomfortable."
And do you think your points of the idea of body hair about the beard would go along with ladies' body hair, or do you think there's more to it?
I think there might be more to it. I think the beards are specifically distinct to men because of the way society shapes around how they treat men with beards rather than women with leg hair. I think you can connect them in the way that sometimes they're both looked at as dirty, but I would think women's leg hair right now in our culture is much more negative than beards.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so tell us about your presentation. Now, this was in front of a college class.
Yes.
Okay, what was the subject of the class, or the which class was it?
It was for my speech class, um, I think oral communication speech, and it was basically informing the class about something that you were interested in. And it was funny. The first two things I tried to get approved as my topics were the evolution or devolving of modesty in America, and the other one was natural birth rather than getting drugged up in a hospital, which will not some people in the comments probably won't let that one fly by. But and then the last one was the science of beards, and I have a very fun professor, and she said, to do the beard one, and they really enjoyed it. A lot of the boys in the class, it looked like one of them in particular started to sport some facial hair after I gave it. So I guess that was really interesting to see.
Now, this is a college class. Does anyone in the class currently, besides the boy that started growing it after your talk, does anyone that currently have a beard in the class that you know
Not
of?
that I can think of. I don't really look at a lot of the other. I usually sit in the front. I'm one of those people. But I think there were a couple young men who had some goatees or just some facial hair that they were trying to get going. But other than that, majority of them were very very much so clean shaven.
Okay, okay. So tell us about the beard. Tell us about some highlights of your presentation about the beard.
Well, some of them were interesting to point that both past cultures and modern cultures are very parallel when it comes to their perspective on beards. And one interesting fact, I did a lot of interesting studies about or research on scientific studies, so like journal articles, and they're very verifiable sources rather than just Wikipediaing it, if you can put that into a verb. But 1860s Victorian era British men were growing thick signs of beards as a sign of authority and eminence and distinction and accomplishment. And it actually shifted during that time, right before 1860, that the modern man was clean shaven, kind of like a lot like what we have today. The modern man was clean shaven, but now suddenly beards are becoming popular. And beards right now are symbols of the alpha male status rather than the clean shaven faces that suggest that the men don't have as much wisdom as men with beards have. And it was interesting to see that there are different perspectives of men with different kinds of facial hair. For example, the goatee would be more mature in older men, but the goatee on a younger man seems like they're trying to prove something about themselves. And the mustache usually doesn't have a positive relationship to people's feelings. People don't like it. But in general, beards are most positively perceived, other than the typical you've heard about, looking homeless or looking like you're lazy or dirty or something like that. Other than that, which is definitely present in our society, beards are really looked upon as something very good. And men who have beards are also looked upon as educated and intelligent and generous and open minded, and it's just overall a positive correlation.
And what about the health benefits of the beard? Because you mentioned you did some study about that.
Right. The health benefits, there's some really interesting ones. Beards can actually, depending upon how thick your beard is growing in, beards can block from 90 to 95% of UV rays, which lessens the risk of facial skin cancer and also slows the aging process down. And for men with allergies and asthma, beards can act as a filtration system for the dust and pollutants and pollen in the air, kind of like nose hair. Like a lot of people like to get rid of their nose hair, which it definitely works against them because that's what stops a lot of the allergens from coming in and messing with your sinuses. And another thing that I don't know if there's a lot of research behind it, but it is thought to battle colds because it keeps your neck and your chest warm, if depending on how long your beard is, but it definitely keeps your neck warm, which some people said that it helps with the cold season. And finally, with the thing that you would expect that when you don't shave or scrape a razor against your facial skin, you don't get as many ingrown hairs or nicks and cuts and folliculitis, which some men get this bad razor burn from shaving their face every day.
Very good, very great, very good. And how was the report or the your presentation received by everyone? Did anyone take it negatively?
When I spoke to a friend, not he didn't listen to the speech. It was outside of the classroom. It wasn't received very well there. But in the classroom, because I presented it with a little bit more humor and I used some visual aids, some pictures like George Clooney or famous people or Tom Selleck, he had the mustache. I was able to use those, and so it added an element of humor to it. But when I talk to people outside of the classroom, they don't really want to hear it. They don't, especially, I don't know if it's because I'm a young woman. I don't know if it's because I don't have a beard, along with the young woman thing, but some guys do not want to hear about the benefits of beards, and I think they might feel like I'm attacking them, which by no means is that the case, but that's the reaction I seem to get from beardless guys.
Sure. Now, what about the teacher? How was your grades on it? Did she agree and like what you had to say, or?
Yeah, she really liked what I had to say because it was something interesting and different, and I got over 100% on it because I also did a little extra credit. But she appreciated the presentation and she appreciated the content, and I think that's definitely the content is what bumped me up in the score.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that is just great information, and I think there are some groups on Facebook about women that love beards, and also men that love beards, and so on. But I'm sure there's the opposite: women that hate beards, and so on. And there's a lot of information out there. But like you said at the beginning, we have to look at what our Creator says. And I always say there's something wrong about us destroying it and him putting it back, and us destroying it and him putting it back every
Mm,
single time. And he must be trying to tell us something. And
yeah.
it's when he says he knows every hair on our head. Well, we have to have hair on our head, and our face is part of our head, and it's
Yeah.
amazing. So tell us your perspective about uh, the future, or the impact. You said one person started to grow some whiskers in the class there. Do you think this is going to be a one and done kind of a presentation for you, or do you think you're going to encourage people in general, men, to let their beards grow?
Well, it definitely is not a one time thing. I really appreciated the fact that I had to give a speech on something and I chose beards because it was able to equip me for those conversations because it just seems to be coming up. Especially men who follow Torah. I've been seeing a lot more beards in those groups. And I mentioned to you that I was talking about this with my boyfriend, and he has a beard as well. And it's actually a really wonderful testimony when his family will tell him to shave it off, or my family will tell him to shave it off. And it's a good testimony to talk about what the Creator put that there for, and how actually it was interesting in the Word how when David's men had their beards shaved off and they were cut below, they had their
Their tunics,
their
yeah.
garments cut below the waist. It was showing their nakedness. Yeah, their tunics. It was showing their nakedness. And so he's able to back me up with I think a little bit more of credibility because he himself has a beard and he takes care of it and he understands the importance of it both physically and also with regard to that the creator put it there and the scripture about not marring the corners or the borders of your beard, which he and I disagreed about that upon, but it was really great that he's able to do it and use natural products like coconut oil and things like that to help it to be shaped and not do anything to where it's unhealthy. You know, he wants to keep it a good testimony and keep it nice, and he does trim it, but it doesn't get all wild. But he does keep the healthy products going on.
Absolutely. It brings up an interesting topic because I recently did an interview or a video about should a beard get in the way of your marriage? About if a
Really?
wife is not liking the beard, should the husband shave it or not? And that was because I met a guy who said he's happily married and he loves his beard, but he says he loves his wife more than his beard,
Oh,
and he has a clean shaven face. And a lot of the replies were, no wife should ever tell a man to shave. But I wonder how it is from the opposite aspect of it is if the wife does enjoy the beard and wants the husband to have one, but the husband decides not to have it. So it comes down, it was a very interesting topic because it's even though it's an important thing and a thing of our Creator, I guess it comes down to priorities and also each individual situation. And but it's it's interesting the things you bring up, and if your boyfriend or any other men out there that you know of in your congregation that have beards and are interested in coming on the show to talk about their beard and their connection, their personal passion for their beard, I'd love to have them on. Uh,
of course. Yeah.
yes. So
Gotta see that.
yes, yeah, and it's funny. I just put a video today about we went to my dad's house and my dad came to the door with shaving cream, and my daughter never seen anyone with shaving cream on, and
Oh,
so my daughter, I said, "Why does Grandpa shave?" So that was this today's video that I made about the beards, and I posted it.
you know, it comes up. I don't know how beers have been coming up so often in daily conversation, but even when I was walking around school with the visual aids I mentioned earlier, the pictures I needed to use for my speech, people were asking me what it was about, and so I was able to give the speech over and over and over again, and people, usually men who have some kind of facial hair, respond very well to it, but some guys just do not want to even accept that there are journal article studies done on things like that, which is interesting. I don't know why they seem to get so offended by it, but hmm.
Yeah, Halloween's coming up, and we were at the store the other day, and they had fake beards and fake mustaches. I guess as part of people's costumes. So I was just mentioning, and I got to make another video about it, that the real costume should be a clean face. And people should have the hair in their face all year long. And then here comes Halloween, and not to shave their beard, but maybe find a way to hide it for their Halloween, and they could, if they partake in that garbage anyway. But but anyway, so yeah, so thank you so much for talking about the beard and stuff. Is there anything you thought of after the presentation that you didn't mention that you like? I should have said that, or I didn't think about that.
um Not that I can think of. I think ultimately it's really great that a lot of men now are sporting beards, whether it's for the hipster movement or what have you. And it's funny that you mentioned mustaches because for a long time, a lot of teenage girls have been really into mustaches. And I remember being in high school and I was like, I even have a mustache necklace. And it's just crazy that that there's this fad going on, but then we don't like it when it's actually on someone's face. Or it's going to be more popular, which I think is a good thing. But hopefully, it doesn't stay as a fad. It hopefully it stays as our cultural thing that we have it, and it's not just people who are homeless who have beards. You know, like you said, it grows on. And I don't think beards are appropriate for everybody. Like in the military right now, I know some friends who are in the military, and it's I guess against regulation who to have that, but hopefully we'll be able to get to a place where they're just not looked down upon for having, hair on your face. I don't get it.
Well, it's a very interesting topic you just brought up because I heard on the radio the other day there are Muslims as prisoners in jails, and some prisons now are making an exclusion and letting them grow their beards for religious purposes.
Really?
Because typically in these particular jails they always had to shave men, but now they're letting the Muslims grow out their beards, and I think a certain length they're letting them grow them. They always said it was a possible hazard because they could hide weapons in their beard or something else, but now they're making an exception and letting them grow. I don't know to what length, but they are letting them grow. So it was a very
Wow.
great article on. I gotta find it, but on
That is really interesting.
NPR. Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, you are going to now become part of my beard channel on YouTube. This video is going to go up there, and there's some wonderful sites now on beards and wonderful beard competitions out there. So it's
I've seen them. They're
yes,
awesome. I saw one time I've seen a man who made a bicycle out of his beard, which must have taken a lot of hairspray, but it was almost to scale too. It was very impressive. But I don't get the beard competitions where they only have like hair right here and nothing right here. That looks a little strange. But I think if you can maintain the full beard and have fun with it, then go for it. It makes for a very interesting competition or spectator sport, definitely.
yeah. There are many different categories in those competitions, and we just had
Hmm.
somebody on the other day who has one of the biggest beard networks on the internet, and it's called Beard Gents, uh, dot com, I believe. But anyway, he did a great interview, and he started going to these competitions and even entering them, and he said they are so much fun. So I'm excited to check those out, and I'll be bringing my camera. So yeah, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing this information and talking about this. And if anyone has any comments or questions, post them below the video. Scarlett, is there anything else you want to say about the beards or body hair in general?
Nope, just grow out a beard. Every young man should try it at least once. I think everybody I think when you come in of age, you always want to be able to grow that facial hair, but for some reason, you just get into a habit of cutting it off and cutting it off to where you just never had one. So try it, and I'm sure they're gonna like it. I wouldn't know, but I think they would.
That's great. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you very much.
All right.